Broadcasting live in downtown Oakland.
I'm David Hollander, and you're listening to Protect Your Assets. Over the last 20 years, I've met many people dissatisfied with the lack of value and personal attention their financial advisor provides them. At Liberty Group, we personalize every aspect of our clients' retirement and financial plan with estate law, wealth management, and tax planning all under one roof. Call today to make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Tonight, for Real Racers Virtual Club action, we're going back in time to not just the legacy version of the Silverstone circuit on iRacing, but also the historical Grand Prix layout. We welcome you to round number 5 of this 2022 campaign for Real Racers Virtual Club Season 3. Happy that all of you are joining us on this beautiful Tuesday evening. Wherever you're tuning in around the world, we welcome you right here to RaceSpotTV. Alongside Lorenzo Bonder, my name is Joshua Lee. Kankipati, and we have Arjuna Kankipati down in the virtual production trailer, bringing you all the wonderful pictures from the virtual Silverstone. Lorenzo, let's get right to it. The schedule as we take a look at it right here. We're at round number 5 in the middle portion of the season. Now, the beginning season jitters need to be worn off as they go into the middle portion of the calendar, trying to get those necessary points for the championship.
Not only that, Joshua, we're also in the middle portion of the F1 tracks that we have this season. We just covered Red Bull Ring. We're here taking a stroll back in time into the 1990s, early 2000s track of Silverstone, and then we headed for Interlagos. But let's be honest, of all 3 tracks, this is probably my favorite track. Yes, Brazil is not my favorite track with these cars. It's definitely Silverstone. It's a speedy track, highly difficult. And one that you can make it or break it in one single corner just because of the fast yet tricky flow of the track.
And we can take a look at the points that are getting closer and closer as we continue into the middle portion of this campaign, and take a look at Nikita Lastachin and Matthew Escajeda, the Season 2 champion in Escajeda, and Nikita Lastachin, a very, very successful real-life racer, tied for the current top spot in the points, I should say. Wade Michael right there, 2 points behind them both, with Max Butler, Nicholas Leo rounding out the top 5, and you can even go as far down as Anders Krohn, Zach Hudson, Joseph Butler, Rick Sheldon, and Jackson Ball here, Lorenzo, all of them separated by just about 24 points on the leaderboard right now.
Yeah, which is basically nothing. Nikita kind of launched himself up in this championship with the win that he had on the Red Bull Ring. Of course, Anders Krohn had issues early on, and Nikita, who has nothing to do with that issue, just drove and sailed past everybody else and got the win, and thus getting the leadership spot in this championship. But everybody's putting up a good fight, and this track, I think, is one of those tracks that might split up the difference in terms of points for everybody here.
We can take a look at the cars hitting the track here for practice. About 7.5 minutes remaining in practice here from this beautiful legacy Silverstone. And of course, the classic white and red rumble strips are back. And with 7.5 minutes remaining in practice here, Lorenzo, drivers getting their times in and noticing how the times are now looking a bit closer than they were previously. You could see everybody relatively close together in the intervals, with the fastest time currently at a 1:35.059 from Wade Michael, who sits down in the front. And then it's the pair of Butlers there, second and third. Max and Joe, who sit second and third, currently on the timing sheet. But this track is so challenging. Of course, it's the normal challenging Silverstone, just with a little bit more added on as we take a look at Max Butler in the 1, working his way down the hill. He's coming into what is a little bit different than it is in modern day Formula 1. And even back here in the historic section, like we mentioned, we're using the historical Grand Prix layout. This isn't just the normal Legacy Grand Prix layout. This is the historical layout. So you can see cutting a bit of that chicane there and basically going straight through turn 11 and working their way now through turns 12 and 13. And they'll go through the final couple of corners at Brooklands, Priory, Luffield, and through Woodcott, and back onto what is now known as the Old Pit Straight, which of course back in the days of the Legacy Silverstone, this being the 2008 scan of the track, being the normal pit straight as they come across the line to end the lap.
Yeah, and basically where it starts now is going to be over Cobbs. You're going to be basically taking that with a small lift, maybe a downshift into 5th, going to 4th to try to maximize the exit out of the corner and just power it all through. And then we go to the famous Baggins Chapel section, which is a very quick section. Doesn't have some of the bumps that he has on the nowadays track, like the inside of Chapel and the outside of Chapel as well. So still challenging. I think the grass makes it a little bit more challenging than the actual circuit, because you need to be on the rumble strips pretty much the entire time.
As practice continues to wind its way down, we continue to look at the number 1 of Max Butler. Has had some up and down races so far this season, and of course you can always find Max Butler trackside at either whether it's IndyCar, IMSA, SRO, or anything. You can find him behind a camera grabbing it on photo as we take a look now at the number 4 of Zach Hudson. He's working his way through middle portion of this racetrack as we get a great look at that Red Bull Star Wars livery, one of the highlights of Formula One in the 2010s, and great to see it here on the track, at least virtually in the iRacing space.
Yeah, I'd love to see that livery back once again, maybe in the next season or these upcoming season that we're incorporating new cars, new chassis, so it's going to be an interesting one. When does the cars get revealed? I know, if I recall correctly, the Red Bull does launch tomorrow, if I recall correctly, isn't it?
On board again with videographer, video editor Joe Butler. Always around racing, whether it's karting or in the virtual space of iRacing. We, of course, always mention that this is the Real Racers Virtual Club, and the name is exactly what it means, Real Racers. These are real drivers who, whether they're weekend warriors or whether they're actively competing in a racing series, they are here to compete against each other. And whether you don't even get in a car, whether you're behind a camera photographing it and getting it on video, or related work in the motorsports industry, you are invited to race in this series. So great to see everybody from the real world coming together for this series, and we've got 10 of them right now on the track for practice, and we'll see if we grab any more before qualifying and the race starts tonight. But as we work our way through practice, now at about 3.5 minutes remaining, we have a 10-minute qualifying session coming up, 3 laps there, then a 25-minute race that will conclude the night, and we'll see who's going to walk away with the victory here for the Real Racers Virtual Club. Round number 5 of the campaign, 1 oval, 3 road courses in the rear view mirrors, and we'll see what the Legacy Silverstone is going to bring as we get a look at Nikita Lastichkin. Great performances from him this season. What more can the number 9 machine do in this campaign? Of course, Nikita Lastichkin, Russian racing driver, has competed in the Indy Lights campaign in 2020. He competed about part-time in that campaign, and glad to see him here in the virtual world. P6 on the speed chart, though, Lorenzo. A little bit farther down than I think we're used to seeing the number 9 machine.
Yeah, somewhat surprising to see Nikita a little bit far back than usual, but this is a track that you have to have momentum in it, and the tires do build up. Once it builds up a little bit, maybe 2-3 laps in, you can get the best laps out in the car, which you can see right in the middle of the 135s, 135.0. I want to believe that might be with a little bit of draft going into the hangar straight and where they would exit maybe out of Vale, which is interesting because Vale does cut a little bit across when they go into the actual pit straight. But interesting track nevertheless. Let's see if Lastochkin can do better in this lap. I think not.
And you can see working his way through that corner there. 1:55 left in practice. And taking a look at our timing tower, you can see the gaps to that top spot for each of our drivers. Wade Michael currently holds that top spot, still at that same time at a 1:35.059. Lastichkin and Rick Sheldon pulling it into the pit lane as everybody else grabs some last-minute practice on the course before they start the time trials for qualifying. And with Wade Michael out in front of the field right now, getting some last-minute practice as well. He works his way through the tight left and right-handers, and he'll be going back onto the pit straight. Round number 5 tonight for the Real Racers Virtual Club. And once again, we're going to have one more of these F1 tracks on the calendar through the middle portion of the campaign. It'll be the middle race of the campaign as well from Interlagos. Then we go to our final oval of the season at Phoenix Raceway, Road America, Laguna Seca, Sonoma, and Watkins Glen to round out the calendar. As Wade Michael sits atop the practice charts right now. We would like to thank all of the sponsors that help to put on Real Racers Virtual Club every single week here on RaceSpotTV, and that is starting with Liberty Group. At Liberty Group LLC, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always wanted. Our team of professionals can help you create a well-thought-out strategy using a variety of investments and insurance products and services to help you address your financial needs and concerns. We also would like to thank the Stephen Wilson Racing Academy. The Stephen Wilson Racing Academy exists to assist clients on their motorsport journey. SWRA utilizes 20-plus years in the sport with advanced coaching techniques, track and car knowledge, and widespread international industry connections to help clients progress to any level imaginable. Whether the client is new to driving on track or an experienced amateur racer, we help our clients develop driving skills that enable them to climb through the Ferrari Challenge ranks, win races in Ferrari Challenge, advance to competing in Pro-Am racing, and one day possibly iconic races such as the Daytona 24-hour or the Le Mans 24-hour. Now, we would like to thank Coforce for their support of Real Racers Virtual Club.
Coforce is a digital media marketing agency specializing in the world of motorsports. Working in a variety of racing series in North America, Coforce offers a full range of services, from video production and targeted branding campaigns to event planning and special projects. For more information, visit www.coforce.com or find them at a race event near you.
Qualifying has begun from the Legacy Silverstone. We welcome all of you back to RaceSpot TV's coverage of Real Racers Virtual Club. Round 5 of the season. We are ready to get underway as the cars hit the track for qualifying here. Lorenzo, what do you think is going to be the main challenge for these drivers getting around this track in a fast manner in these qualifying time trials? Because it seems like every single corner on this track, whether it's the new Silverstone or whether it's the Legacy Silverstone, pretty much every corner is going to be a challenge for these drivers, especially in these cars.
It's very challenging. We see the track conditions, 21 degrees, ambient 31 degrees on the track, so it's a warm track. Everybody can push their laps, and the tire should build up without too much of a hassle. The winds are to the north, 3 kilometers, and the humidity is very, very low, 36%. My key, I think, is first, get Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel right. You need to do that every single time. It's very easy to miss one of the corners. If you miss it one, you miss it all. And then later on, I would say maybe get the transition from Abbey, which is the left-hand side, which is now turn number 1 on the new track. But the transition from Abbey down a bridge and going to Luffield and then the last corner, everything right, because you can lose a lot of time in there.
And we get a great look on board here with the one of Max Butler, currently on a lap as he works through Sector 2 and is going to work his way through Turn 11. Like we mentioned, on the historical Grand Prix layout, so it cuts out that corner at Abbey there, that turn 12. It cuts that out, makes it a lot faster, and it just basically will bleed them right in to after the farm straight into Bridge Corner at turn 12 and working their way through Brooklands. And you can see a little bit of a touch of the steering wheel there from Max Butler. He'll work his way through the final few corners, through Luffield, through Woodcott, and right back onto the front straightaway. What is this lap going to be for the number 1 of Max Butler? Where will he start out in his qualifying run? A 1:36.574. That's currently going to be the fastest on the speed charts, but not for long, as his brother Joe Butler is going to grab that lead back at 0.3 of a second up on the one machine.
Yeah, good lap by Joe Butler, just 3:10, nearly 3/10 up on his brother. Nikita Lestotchkin with a 1:37.1. Let's see if the number 9 driver can do something better. We are looking at with Wade Michael just going under the bridge, going now up to the international straight headed to Brooklands. And let's see what his lap will be, because it looks like it is going to be a solid lap.
He was the fastest driver in practice coming through the final couple of corners. He's got a little bit of time to make up. 5 seconds to the line to try and beat the time that is currently up by Joe Butler across the line, and he is not going to beat it. It's going to be a couple 100ths of a second short as Wade Michael is going to go into P number 2 by 78 100ths of a second. He's gonna have to settle for second place currently, as right now you can see the number 1 Max Butler trying to get back up by about 3/10 to get the lead here in qualifying. Coming through the final couple of corners, this is looking like a better lap than his first one here, Lorenzo, but the question is it going to be enough through the final corner and across the line? It'll be a 1:36.019, and it'll be the best at the moment. 5 minutes left in qualifying. Max Butler up to the top of the speed charts.
Nice lap. Basically got everything perfect on his lines, Max Butler, and putting nearly a quarter of a second on his brother. Now Nikita Lastachkin fires back, goes into second place with a 1:36.1. So the qualifying laps are basically close to towards everybody. Not a huge gap between everybody. I think the biggest one has to be going to Rick Sheldon and Kurt Pensigrau, which are the only guys outside the second. But then again, this is one of those laps that is not easy for you to do, and there's so many places you can get it wrong.
Nicholas Leo across the line. He'll just barely improve. He's going to improve on 1 spot. Puts Escaleta down to 7th and Leo up to 6th. And you can see as he went on to another lap there, working his way through the opening corner, which of course on this Legacy Silverstone course is Cops, and was caught out on the rumble strip. Matthew Escaleta going to improve now up to P4. And how about Wade Michael to the top of the board? 1:36.005. And he now has the fastest time of the session so far. One more opportunity for Max Butler through the final couple of corners. Is he going to be able to grab that pole position back with less than 4 minutes remaining here from Virtual Legacy Silverstone in qualifying? Through the final corner and across the line. Is it going to be enough? And I believe by 2/10 it might just be, and it will. Max Butler to the top of the board. Joe Butler right behind him. Both of them now under 1:36. Can Rock and Roll Rick Sheldon be the next one to go under 1:36 seconds?
Let's looking at it. Looks like it's not going to be under the 36, but it's going to be 36.6. Solid time for Rick Sheldon. I think it's going to be a massive improvement. Zach Hudson finishing his lap at 1:38. Something might have happened for the number 4 to lose time around the track, and we are now with Nick Leo. Let's see what his time will be.
And Nicholas Leo improved from a P7, currently on the board. Work his way through the final couple of corners in the number 69, and there's the 5 of Wade Michael, and I believe on his final flying lap has just spun it around, coming through turn number 15 at Luffield. And Matthew Escaleta with a big mistake on his lap. He's going to abandon it before he even gets to the line to clock in that time. We go back to Joe Butler. This could be the final driver to put anything to Max Butler. Both of the Butlers are currently the only drivers in this session to go south of 1:36. He'll work his way through the left-hander, through the second left-hander at turn 14 into turn 15. This is Luffield. Through 16 at Woodcott. 1:30 now on the clock. 5 seconds to get to the line, and it's not going to be enough. He pulls it off into the pit lane, and grabbing the pole will be Max Butler. And I think the most surprising thing out of this session here, Lorenzo, Nikita Lastachkin, the winner from Red Bull Ring, 1 round to go, sits P6 on the speed charts heading into tonight's race.
Yeah, a little bit surprising to see Lastachkin being relegated with air quotes around it back to 6th place, right in the middle of the field, into the bottom half of the field. I think he can cut it back. It's a long race around the track. It's going to be an interesting one because the key thing here is that you're not safe until you break away from the draft. And if it was on the new track, then maybe I could say, yeah, that might be a possibility for you to break away with quite some ease. Here's not. Here's a fast-pacing track. It is a fast laps every single time, despite the 135s and 136s. But it's going to be an interesting one. How does the Butler brothers break away from both Wade Michael and Zach Hudson?
Now getting ready to get this race underway as everybody has just about finished up their qualifying laps, and we'll get another look at this schedule. And you can see we're at the middle portion of the campaign, just about at Legacy Silverstone. Interlagos in 1 week's time on February 15th. February 22nd will see us at our second and final oval of the calendar at Phoenix Raceway. March 1st, March 8th, Road America and Laguna Seca. Then we take a couple-week break and come back towards the end of March at the Sonoma Raceway and Watkins Glen to round out this campaign. And what a lineup of tracks that we have on the horizon. Of course, Interlagos, an F1 circuit, Road America, Laguna Seca, now staples of the IndyCar calendar, as well as Sonoma, and we go back to Watkins Glen to finish out this season. Time to take a look at the starting grid as we get ready to go racing here from the virtual Legacy Silverstone. And grabbing the pole position, it will be the number 1 of Max Butler with a 135.851. His brother Joe Butler will sit to his outside in the number 2 machine. Wade Michael and Zach Hudson are going to share row number 2, with Matthew Escajeda and Nikita Lastichkin going to share the 3rd row on the grid. Remember, Lastichkin is the winner from 1 week ago and the only driver in this field tonight that has won a race this season. So very probable we will see 5 different winners in 5 rounds come tonight's race. Nicholas Leo and Rock and Roll Rick Sheldon are going to share the 4th row on the grid. Dave Anderson and Kurt Panzergrau are going to round out the field. Panzergrau, of course, the Season 1 champion. Matthew Escajeda, the Season 2 champion, also in the field tonight. And as we get ready to take the green flag, of course, 25 minutes are on the docket for tonight's race. And Lorenzo, of course, this track, just looking at it, it looks so much different than the Silverstone of today. You really need to look close if it's going to look at all similar, but these corners they're heading up to now, historic in the world of motorsport, through Maggots, through Beckett's, into Chapel and onto the Hangar Straight and back through Stowe. These are now in Sector 2 and 3 of the Formula 1 circuit today, but here in the sim at Legacy Silverstone, they are still in Sector number 3. Or Sector number 1, excuse me.
Yeah, which is basically was the old way, I think, back in the 60s until 2000. The 2011 reform of the track brought it up to now what is Sector 2 and 3, the end of Sector 2 and 3. The beginning of Sector 3 to be more specific, but they're iconic corners nevertheless, and they basically paint all the way to this iconic track, which is one of the traditions of British tracks that is based out of an airfield. So I think the majority of the circuits in the UK, bar maybe 1 or 2, are actually based in airfields. So the traditional trademark still lingers and it still exists around the British pedigree of tracks.
And now they work their way through what would be the final couple of corners on the current day Silverstone. They're heading their way now through Club Corner, turn 8, 9, and 10. Now, of course, the historical Grand Prix layout that we are on today is going to cut out that harsh turn 8 and harsh turn 9, make it a lot more flowing. It is a more flowing left-hander at 8 and a more flowing double right-hander at 9 and 10. Then they work their way down this straightaway here and what would be a DRS zone if we had the Mercedes W12 here or the McLaren MP430. But working their way now through turn 11, through the left-hander. And you can see cutting out to that other harsh chicane, what would be turns 11 and 12 at Abbey Corner. They cut that out, work their way down Farm Straight and downhill into turn number 12 as we get ready to go racing for round number 5. In round 1, we saw Andre Castro get to victory lane. Round 2, it was Josh Green. Round 3, it was Anders Krohn. Round 4, it was Nikita Lastichkin, and that was the last round at the virtual Red Bull Ring. Lastichkin has an opportunity to go back-to-back and be the only driver this season to win multiple races and the only driver this season to win back-to-back races, but he needs to fight from P6. He needs to get by the Season 2 champion and 4 of the fastest drivers here tonight and of this season that are all hungry for their first wins of the year, and we are underway. Let's go racing as they work their way through the final corner and across the line. We are underway as the Butlers are going to lead him in to Copse Corner, turn number 1 at Legacy Silverstone. You're on board with Lastichkin as he tries to fight through the traffic, and going way off track goes Zach Hudson in the 4. He's going to go way off the course and is going to lose spots. The Butlers are side by side working their way through Maggots. Who's going to have to give way? Butler's going to make Joe give it, and Max Butler is going to grab the lead away.
Nice move from Max, going to turn number 1, try to fend off his brother. His brother tried his best to try to get back and go into P1. Who was caught napping over there was Zach Hudson. He was very bad at the start. Nikita tried to take advantage out of it, and it didn't push him wide. He just went wide in turn number 1. Unfortunately, Hudson lost several spots.
Lastichkin just trying to make another move as he is trying to fight his way up through the field right now. He tried to make a move going into turn number into turn number 8 for P number 4 on this racetrack, or P number 3, excuse me. He now sits in P4 as the Butlers are still trying to go side by side, both running close together. Down the hill they go and through turn number 11, now into turn number 12 and 13. And Max Butler is looking to lead the opening lap of this race. And what pace Max Butler is starting to show at the front of the field, but don't count out Wade Michael. Wade Michael is the fastest driver in practice tonight and now is right in the slipstream. A 4-car breakaway at the front with Lastichkin trying to hold on at the back of the pack.
And like I said, the one thing it's going to be hard over here is for you to break away from the pack if you're first place, because it's basically a high-speed track of sorts. It's so hard, as we're seeing what's happening in the back. Nick Leo leading that pack of sorts as Rick Sheldon moves up 1 spot. Matthew Escajeda now relegated to 8th place. And look at the front, what's happening, nearly going toe-to-toe.
Battle for first as it's between Max and Joe Butler, as here comes Joe Butler, gonna step out, gonna try and go down the inside at turn 7. This is Stowe Corner, and they fight their way through, and on the exit, Max Butler is gonna use that room that Joe gave to his advantage and be able to hold on to that spot. Michael and Lastichkin not letting the brothers go anywhere far, as Hudson and Escajeda are going to continue to go battling for P6. Hudson goes a bit wide. How about Rick Sheldon going way wide on the exit of that corner, outside of the rumble strip for a moment there, as Escajeda is going to settle in on the gearbox of Zach Hudson. Going to try and step out as they go down the hill, but it's not going to be enough to make any sort of moves as they go through the slower portions here at Silverstone. Lorenzo, becomes very difficult to make passes through these corners on this racetrack unless the driver in front of you makes that mistake.
Not only that, if you make the mistake or if you try to go for a dive, which would be very courageous and a hard move for you to actually seal the deal, as we're going to open up lap number 3. And let's see how does Max Butler will fend off the rest of the pack, because right at the back as well is Cajeda and Hudson going hard at it. Rick Sheldon not far behind. And we have a driver spun around, Nick Leo.
We grab a look at the replay real quick of what happened a couple of laps ago to the number 62. That's Dave Anderson that went for a spin, and it looks like most recently getting bit out by this circuit was Nicholas Leo. As we stay on the battle for third, it's between Wade Michael and Nikita Lastichkin. Last time by Lastichkin with the fastest lap of the race and a diving move through Stowe, and that is going to be a beautiful move made and a pass done for Nikita Lastichkin, backing up into the podium places, as here is that replay of what happened to the 69 and Nicholas Leo through Copse Corner. Did he get on the rumble strip a little bit too much on the exit? Yes, he did. Taps the grass and around he goes.
And also there's that AstroTurf, that green, the darker green AstroTurf. It's not really an AstroTurf. I think it is more painted grass of sorts, so you have no grip in it, and that's probably what happened. It caught the tail, and while it was actually losing control on that patch of grass, and just spun around and lost several seconds, 14 seconds. That was enough for him to be in the last spot of the race.
On board now with Joe Butler, who sits in P2 currently. Max Butler, he continues to lead the way as we go on board with Joe. Of course, we talk about the Butler brothers, Joe Butler, videographer and video editor, spending a lot of time around motorsports, and a karter and a sim racer, of course. And then we talk about Max Butler. He's also behind a camera, but in a different way. You can find him taking photos at all of these tracks with IndyCar, IMSA, SRO, and anything else that he can see, and he gets trackside and grabs those photos. Great to see the Butler brothers out in front and battling for this race lead. Here comes another step to the inside, going into Stowe for Joe Butler. He's going to have the momentum and have the spot. Is he going to be able to come back on the outside? Here comes Max Butler looking for the lead again. A little bit of a twitch from the 2 machine, but he's able to hold the lead. Right on the gearbox goes Max Butler, but he's going to have to give way as they work their way through 8 and 9.
Yeah, it looked like that Max bottled a little bit the exit out of Chapel and lost momentum in comparison to Joe Butler. And I was looking at the lines, Joe being aggressive, trying to use the rumble strips inside of Meggins and Beckett's to try to set himself into better lines of Chapel. And unfortunately, Max just couldn't follow through in the lead. And Joe has nothing to do with his brother's mistakes. Just goes in, moves in, and now gets the lead.
Great look on board with Joe Butler, who sits in the lead now as he was able to get by Max Butler, but last time by, fastest lap of the race for Max Butler. He's going to do it again on that lap at a 1:36.090. He's going to hold that spot, or 0.60 I should say, going to hold that fastest lap spot at the top of the board, but last time by continuing to set fast lap times, and last time by was just only a couple tenths slower than Joe Butler, who sits in the lead. But now that he's got that clean air, Lorenzo, looks like the 2 is trying to check out as he works his way through Beckett's, through Chapel, and onto the hanger straight. Can Max Butler use anything with the slipstream? Looks like he's going to try the defense on the inside in the battle for first from Joe Butler. It's not going to be enough as around the outside goes Max Butler for the lead, and Nikita Lasickin tried to get in the battle, and now is going to be cut off, and a blocking move from Joe Butler to keep Lasickin at bay.
A little bit feisty from Joe Butler into the entry of Vale, on the faster part of Vale to be more exact, and blocking Nikita. Nikita looking racy as they go under the bridge. Can Nikita go for the move right there? I don't think he can actually seal the deal. He has to go to the outside, and that outside does give him a little bit of a room for actually running and get the position.
Lasickin tried to go for the move, and contact made as they work their way through turn number 14 at Brooklands. Contact was made. Doesn't look like any damage from either car, but Wade Michael is going to use that opportunity. Both of the drivers getting slowed up to go for the podium spot of P number 2. He's going to try and defend for that spot. Now third place, Joe Butler in the 2. Down to the inside at Copps. Not going to stick a nose up there, as we saw earlier in the last season of the Formula 1 campaign. And he was able to keep that spot. And now Nikita Lasickin is going to be fighting from the 4th spot. Here's the replay of that contact, Lorenzo. It was light contact. Don't think it was enough to give either car any damage, but definitely slowed them both up, and not what we want to see out on this racetrack.
Yeah, that is a little bit unfortunate to see Joe Butler, I think, going a little bit wider than usual at the entry of the corner, and then just naturally going wide and just making contact with Lasickin, and Lasickin had to back away, going to the outside, maybe brake a little bit to avoid further damage. But the problem was actually later. We just saw that on the bottom of the screen as Butler totally botched the exit out of Chapel, and just like his brother in the earlier laps, and Lasickin just took advantage out of it, moving now to P3.
with that move down to P3, up to P3, and that move down to P4 for Joe Butler. That's going to kind of reset where Butler is currently in that battle, and it's going to give brother Max Butler a great opportunity to continue to pull away at the front. Nikita Lastichkin, you're on board with him now, sits in third, and look how quickly he has caught up to Wade Michael. Lastichkin, not with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:36.3, which, to be honest, bit of an average lap time around this course, but he was able to make up a lot of time, and Joe Butler with the mistake down the inside at Cops goes Lastochkin, and a beautiful move, cleanly done, put the 9 up into P2. But you mentioned it, Lorenzo, looks like trouble for the other Butler as Joe Butler's way off the pace, now P7 as we stay on this second place battle through Maggots and Beckett's.
Yeah, looks like a human mistake from Joe Butler into the exit out of low field. We're going to look on the replay to see what happened specifically with Joe Butler going to now into low field, just maybe going early on the reacceleration, and the car just losing its rear end. Was it lost in the middle of the corner? It doesn't look like it.
Lost it coming through the final corner, it looked like. Got spun around, and that is going to be race over for Joe Butler in the 2. But how about brother Max at the front of the field by now? 2.1 seconds over Nikita Lastichkin. Now we gotta be wondering, Lorenzo, can Lastichkin catch up in this battle? Because normally with these cars and with this series, once we see that breakaway, once we see a driver get multiple seconds up in front, maybe it only needs to be multiple tenths out in front to the lead with no pressure, becomes very, very difficult to catch them, especially with the speed we're seeing out of Max Butler, currently fastest driver on the racetrack.
Yeah, it's gonna be very hard for Nikita Lastichkin to come back and actually cut any time whatsoever on Max Butler. He's looking really racy around the track as we see the battle between Matthew Escajeda and Zach Hudson. Zach's trying to recover. He's lost positions at the start of the race and going lap by lap, catching one position at a time, and see if he can actually get back to 4th place. But Nikita, I think, if it was me, Josh, I think I would try to work my best with Wade Michael, try to share some draft, make some very intelligent moves, let the driver go by, let's just say going to Stowe, and just use the draft. The draft is your friend right here. See if you can actually get close. If not, you got a good gap on Matthew Escajeda right now, and then you can battle for the rest of the podium spots.
Well, just like that, halfway is going to escape us. What an exciting first half of the race that we saw here for the Real Racers Virtual Club round number 5. Hopefully the second half is going to keep this same energy as we take a look at the heads-up battle for P number 2. Lastichkin holding that second spot. Here comes Wade Michael to join the party, and look at Joe Butler right after that spin, right back to work as he gets by rock and roll Rick Sheldon, who's going to go down into P7. The Butler now moving his way into P number 6 in that Ferrari livery number 2. Can Wade Michael make a move coming into Cop's corner? Down the front straightaway. He's going to step to the outside line here. What can Lastichkin do from the inside, side by side? And Wade Michael not going to have the momentum on the outside line to hold it around the outside of turn 1.
I'm not going to lie. I felt shades of a certain battle that happened last year going around Cops. I think you know what I'm talking about, Josh. But this time around, I think Wade did the smart move. Just let Nikita go by, but the problem is with this, the gap just widens to 3 seconds. He's coming out of reach, so I think they probably know they're not going to be able to work together to get closer towards Max Butler, I think, unless something drastic happens with Max. But now that I open my mouth, it's probably going to happen because Lorenzo speaks, right? And I think the battle is going to be basically between these two for the rest of the podium spots in P2 and P3.
So still at the front is Max Butler. He still has your fastest lap of the race. We're grabbing a look at the second place battle between Nikita Lastichkin, course, real-life racer from Russia, competed in Indy Lights for a partial portion of the campaign last season in 2021. Excited to see what he has for this season's upcoming Indy Lights campaign, as Lastitchkin going to work his way through turn number 15 at Luffield and through Woodcott. Back to the front straightaway he'll go, as Wade Michael will sit behind him. Native of Green Bay, Wisconsin for Wade Michael, and has been around motorsports his entire life, over 10 years of real-life karting experience. So he's out here in the virtual world piloting these Indy Pro 2000s, trying to battle now with real-life racer Nikita Lastitchkin for the second spot. We're going to go south at 10 minutes remaining in this race, as it's only going to get more intense from here. But Max Butler is staying away from the drama, now 3 seconds up the road in the race lead.
Yeah, and I have a question up to you, Josh. I said this is my favorite version of Silverstone. What is your favorite version of Silverstone?
Gotta say it is the current one, mainly because I love that turn 1, turn 2 complex. Very, very fast, right down onto the brakes, and a very, very tight right-hander into a left-hander. And of course, the Wellington Straight now has become so iconic in modern Formula 1 that I have to go with modern, even though this specific version of Legacy Silverstone, not necessarily the historical Grand Prix layout, but the normal Grand Prix layout. I mean, one of the defining moments of iRacing World Championships to me was Gregor Hutsu running out of fuel, I believe, towards this very complex right here of turns 12 and 13 in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and arguably was the defining moment of that campaign.
Yeah, which is insane to think about, seeing the Finn being human for once, one of the greatest winners, if not the greatest winner, in the history of the GP Championship. We, alongside our race spots very own Hugo Luis and Martin Kroenke. Insane to think about it, right? One of the best drivers in the history of sim racing making a human mistake coming out of field in a high-class competition. But then again, it proves that not only real racers can make mistakes, the sim racers in high-pressure championships can make that as well.
And remember, of course, also in that race, Kroenke's diving move to the inside to grab that lead away. Just moments later, Hutsu ran out of fuel. Don't think we're going to have to worry about anybody here running out of fuel, but of course, anything is possible in the world of iRacing. We could see that happen, and we could see a diving move, at least for P number 2 on Lastitchkin from Wade Michael. However, over the last couple of laps, he has widened that gap just a bit, now up to about a half second, as Lastitchkin trying to hold on to the second spot, as Wade Michael sits right in that slipstream, just kind of losing a bit of time now, needs to try and gain that back if he wants to move on Lastitchkin for the second spot. This looks to be one of the closest battles on the racetrack currently. We'll stay looking at this battle for second, which could also have championship implications with the way the points were sat as we went into this race for round number 5. Now we get a look at the battle for fifth as well, between Zach Hudson and Joe Butler, as Joe Butler, after a spin coming through the corner that he's currently going through right now at turn 15 of Luffield, trying to minimize the mistakes now, climb his way right back up through the field.
Yeah, I was looking at his average pace on the previous lap. Let's see this one. It's going to probably be the best lap of the race, as Joe Butler goes up a tenth quicker than his brother does with a 135.861 around the track. I was looking, it was flying around the track, which is very impressive to see. Can Zach Hudson hold him? Well, it's a possibility, but I don't think he's going to be able to.
And you can see Butler trying to keep that pressure on the 4 of Zach Hudson. Remember, our winners this season: Andre Castro at round number 1 at Watkins Glen, Josh Green won at Lime Rock for round 2, Anders Krone winning at round 3 for Gateway, Nikita Lastitchkin winning the 4th round of the campaign 1 week ago at the virtual Red Bull Ring. If Max Butler can bring it around and grab this race win, he will be the 5th unique winner in 5 rounds, but it looks like a mistake from Max Butler. Lorenzo has put Nikita Lastitchkin right back in his rearview mirror. Now within 8 tenths, Butler's gonna have to try and stretch this gap out once again.
It's gonna be tight now, because now you have Nikita and Wade in the in the draft range. Let's look on the replay to see what happened. Was that related to turn 1? Yeah, that was, but nice save. Nice save from Max Butler. I would say this is definitely the save of the race. Just going over a small patch of grass, loses the contact, and luckily for him, there's the old pit straight exit right there to save him and put a little bit of grip.
Blinked, and suddenly Max Butler is within a second of Nikita Lastichkin, and Lastichkin has not let Butler get away. He is still there within about 7/10. It's going to close up as he works his way through Beckett's, now through Chapel and down the hanger straight. Good slipstream opportunity here, but it doesn't look like the best of exits for Lastichkin. Now here comes the speed of these Indy Pro 2000s. He's going to try and close up. He's only going to gain about a 10th, though, as they go back to Stowe of turn 7. Max Butler holds the lead, but now Nikita Lastichkin sees him in front. He's on his radar, and now what can Lastichkin do with less than 5 minutes left in this race? Can Lastichkin catch up and go back-to-back 2 in a row in Real Racers Virtual Club? You're on board with the Russian driver.
It's going to be a tricky one because they have right about 2 laps, and I would say 2 laps and a quarter left to go around the British track. And my estimates here on my timing screen. Good luck. Good luck, Max. I don't know what can I do to try to break away from the draft from Nikita. You have to basically go qualifying laps every single time, and I don't even think with qualifying laps is going to be enough for you to break away from Nikita.
Going to be very, very tough as Lastichkin is going to set his sights and put the target on Max Butler in the race lead. Of course, Wade Michael is now fallen off a little bit further in that 3rd place battle. He falls back. Matthew Escaleta holds down 4th as Joe Butler, after his mistake towards the beginning of this race, has been able to climb his way now back up into the top 5. A great night for the number 2 machine of Joe Butler. So he'll stay in 5th with 2 seconds to gain on the Season 2 champion, Matthew Escaleta, who sits in P4. This is the battle we're watching. Battle for first between Butler and Lastichkin. It looks like in the battle for 8th, one driver going to go around. That's Kurt Pansagrau, Season 1 champion. He was in a battle with Nicholas Leo, and it looks like Dave Anderson as well. But another driver getting caught up on the exit of turn number 1 into the grass, and around they went.
Yeah, just catching way too much of the grass. The car is unstable itself, and unfortunately, you're going to look now on the replay. There's a little bit of pressure from Leo. Now, Pansagrau just catching way too much out of that dirt. Spins around, goes into the exit of the pits, and I think that's what saves us from going full time to the wall. As we look on the, I think the perspective of Dave Anderson, not far behind.
There's that replay that we were able to grab and very loose on the exit of turn number 15 at Luffield for Max Butler. Now, luckily, he didn't lose too much time. He's going to lose about a 10th now to Nikita Lastichkin. Back through Cops. Less than 3 minutes to go. Looks like 2 laps to go just about in this race. Lastichkin's going to have 2 more passes to try and get this win. He's within 7/10, trying to chase him down through Maggots and Beckett's, using all the rumble strip that he possibly can. Back to the hanger straight. Can he use the slipstream to his advantage? He's closing. Here comes Max Butler on the defense, trying to hold him at bay. 6/10 now the gap as they work their way into Stowe.
I wonder what Nikita needs to do to try to get within the attack range of Max Butler. 6/10 of a second is still way too far. Need to be, for you to be realistically be able to make a move, I would say 4/10 of a second. He needs to do what I think he did on the previous lap. Get a 35.9, even though Max might be doing 36.0 or something like that. Is still enough for you to be closer and closer. As we can see now, deficit is right around 3/10 of a second.
You won't have the help of Kurz or DRS to make this pass. He's going to have to do it purely on the racetrack as they work their way through Luffield at turn 15 into Woodcott turn 16. They'll take the white flag. It'll be one final lap for round number 5. Max Butler trying to be the 5th unique winner in 5 rounds. Lastotchkin trying to be the first driver to win multiple races this season and go back-to-back in the win column. Lastotchkin, fastest lap of the race last time by, into the grass goes Max Butler. There's the mistake Lastotchkin was waiting for, and Nikita Lastotchkin to the race lead by now 0.2 of a second. What can Max Butler do through Beckett's, through Chapel, onto the hanger straight? It might be too little too late for Max Butler. The gap is 0.4 as they go down the straightaway.
Still not out of the woods yet. Nikita Lastotchkin, he might have the lead. Is going to be right about 0.1 of a second when they come to Stowe. There's still a few spots to strike here, Joshua, but running out of space and running out of time, it's going to be Max Butler on the attacking now instead of being defending.
Could be a final lap maneuver for the race win. He might have one more opportunity as they work their way onto the farm straight. Through turn 11 they go. Very, very quick left-hander as they cut off turn number 12 at Abbey in this historical Grand Prix layout. Through turn 12 into the final complex. The dive to the bottom from Max Butler. It's not going to be enough. He can't get side by side with Lastotchkin. Through the final few corners into turn 15 at Luffield. It's not going to be enough, and after leading for the majority of the race, he'll have to settle for second place. Nikita Lastotchkin is going to go 2 in a row, and the first driver this season to get multiple wins in the Real Racers Virtual Club Season 3.
Wow. Insane.
An unbelievable final chase there, and he will burn it down. And arguably, Lorenzo, I think he deserves to, capitalizing on every mistake that Max Butler made to grab that race win. Unbelievable scenes.
Oh, yeah, unbelievable scenes. Well deserved for Nikita to try to go and capitalize on the mistake on Max Butler. That turn number 1, taking no prisoners whatsoever. And in the final lap of the race, I think Max just conceded under the pressure of trying to fend off Nikita. Was coming very racy with the fastest lap from the previous lap, and unfortunately that mistake is what sealed the deal. He tried to come back before still, but the gap was just way too big.
Russian racing driver, competed in Indy Lights last season, and he now becomes the only driver this season to go back-to-back and win multiple races in Real Racers Virtual Club. Nikita Lastotchkin grabs the win with Max Butler in second, Wade Michael in third. He rounds out the podium with Matthew Escajeda and Joe Butler rounding out the top 5. How about the two of Joe Butler fighting back up to a top 5 placement? Zach Hudson, Rick Sheldon, Nicholas Leo, Dave Anderson, and Kurt Pansagrau are going to round out your top 10 and all 10 drivers who took the green flag tonight here from the Legacy Silverstone. And what a night that we saw. What a way to call round number 5. What a place to drive here. And what a race that we saw, Lorenzo. Exciting from the beginning to the end. We thought that once Max Butler got that lead, that was going to be the end of the race, but goes to show one simple mistake can lead to a completely different result. That's exactly what we saw. 2 mistakes from Max Butler put Nikita Lastotchkin right up to the front and into victory lane.
Yeah, and 2 mistakes in the same corner. I kind of have to put the blame a little bit on myself, Joshua, so blame me, Max Butler, Lorenzo, killing people with words of sorts, again, happening in 2022. But it's unfortunate, you know. He done everything perfectly on qualifying. He done everything perfectly into the race, but if there's one thing I dreadfully hate about this track, and I mean this version of the track, is turn number 1, because if we went for the actual version of the modern version, you could go into turn number 1. You could go outside of Cops where they actually had the spin or the off track and have no problems with it, because now you have the AstroTurf. You have a little bit of
Here from the virtual Legacy Silverstone, and a great way to have round number 5 this season. We'll get ready for the post-race show and speak to, of course, your race winner, Nikita Lastichkin. We'll have an interview with Max Butler, Wade Michael, and every driver, of course, there on the podium, as well as hopefully a couple more that'll join us here in the post-race show. But as we get started with the post-race show, we are going to be able to speak with first, I believe it will be our race winner of the night, Nikita Lastichkin. And what a night for Nikita. What a night that we saw here of racing. Nikita, just talk about that race, I think, first of all, because you had speed, but you qualified in the mid-pack, and then simple mistakes from Max Butler put you into the running for the lead. From your perspective, was it the capitalizing on the mistakes that led to your victory?
You know, I haven't ran this layout at all, and it's great to be back at the old Silverstone. But I think the race settled in for race for second. Once I think it was Wade, we raced for P2 for a while, and Max checked out. But then, yeah, I did not expect to catch him at the end there. That was honestly an epic race.
And as he made those mistakes, you were able to capitalize on all of them. But talk about what it means to go 2 in a row, because you're the only driver this season to not only win multiple races, but the only driver to go back-to-back. Can you make it 3 in a row? Can you grab 3 wins? Because you already got 2 in the win column and 2 back-to-back at Formula 1 circuits. Is it just something about these larger tracks that gives you the speed that you need to grab the win?
I just think I really like the car. The Indy Pro 2000 car is such a fun car to drive, and you know, having this league run this car is just an absolute blast. I'm really hoping we can keep going this way and get some more wins for sure.
Thank you for joining us, of course, once again here in the post-race. Nikita, congratulations on your race win here from the Legacy Silverstone. What a drive for you and the rest of the team.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for having me. Goodbye.
As we continue with the post-race show, great to hear from Nikita Lastichkin, and we move over to second place Max Butler, who's standing by with our Lorenzo Bonder.
So, Max, I know you're gutted with P2, but your effort was amazing. But talk us through about this race in general.
My gosh, gutted, that's one word. It's mixed emotions right now, because I don't know if you guys saw it on the broadcast, but the car tried to kill me multiple times. So I'm just happy to leave this race in one piece, but very happy to end up on the podium. I'm looking through some of the replays now. Lap 1, turn 1, my car is extremely loose, which did not anticipate the cold tires, and I feel like that caught me out a few times. So Nikita ended up catching me, and we had a good little final dash to the end.
Yeah, by the way, I do have to apologize in advance, because I kind of killed you, because when you had that open gap, I would say it would take something that drastic for you to actually lose that gap. But anyway, moving to Interlagos, what do you think you need to do, or what are the tricks with this car to get a good result?
Well, I'm interested in the setup we're going to run. I think baseline around here was pretty difficult to keep those tires under use, so I'm interested in what setup we run, but definitely some practice to make sure that I'm end up on the sharp end, that's for sure.
Okay, and Max, again, thank you for taking your time, and go relax, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. I'm going to de-sweat myself now. Thank you, guys.
Well, as Max Butler goes and calms down, we'll be able to grab an interview with Wade Michael, who finishes P3 on the night. Wade, you were fastest in practice, had speed during qualifying, and ultimately put it together for a podium finish. How was that race from your perspective?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was wildly entertaining. It's good to have like a nice clean race today with everybody. I know that was a big goal for all of us coming into it. Being pretty soft on the start with everybody, giving everybody enough room, and worked out good. And you know, made too many mistakes for my own liking throughout the course of the race, but a P3, I'm pleased with that.
And working your way through this race seemed like some battles at the beginning of this race leading to a handful of mistakes, and then you kind of running in the mid-pack. But ever since the middle portion of that race, when the battles kind of dispersed, you really didn't have any drama to deal with on this racetrack. Was it more of a race of just you trying to race yourself and make sure that you are hitting all of your marks and hitting every apex?
Yeah, that was basically about it. Max cut off the draft there pretty early in the run when myself, Nikita, and Joe were racing. He just set sail, and kind of at that point when Joe spun out and Nikita got in front of me, it was just kind of like, all right, let's just pace here. Let's see if maybe we can run Max down. And I mean, ultimately, Nikita won the race. Max made a few mistakes, and I wasn't able to capitalize. I wasn't able to keep it clean. I wasn't able to hit my marks and be consistent enough to be up there to battle with those guys. But yeah, like I said, P3, good result, good points day, feeling good. Needed a good result here after the last couple of weeks that were a little bit challenging on my end.
We hope to see what you can do from Interlagos in 1 week's time. Wade, thank you for joining us again in the post-race show, and we'll see you in the rest of the races here on RaceSpotTV.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everything you do.
Great to hear from all of your podium finishes. And now one of the drivers who was up front at the beginning of the race is now standing by with Lorenzo Bonder. It's Joe Butler.
So, Joe, I know that P5 is not the result that you probably have wanted in this race, but talk us through going from P2, then back to a few spots, and then climbing back up to P5.
Oh, yeah, it was a tough battle climbing back up to P5. I looped it in one of the last corners, and I knew that was going to be it. I ran a good race with Max and Wade and Nikita up at the beginning, but yeah, I'm just happy to come away with the top 5 finish.
And now moving forward to Interlagos and the other tracks of the season, going to the second half of the season, is there any track specifically that you are looking forward to race?
Looking forward to Interlagos. This is going to be a new track for me, so like getting my head wrapped around what it's going to take to be quick there is exciting to me.
All right, right on. And again, Joe, thank you for taking us your time, and go relax, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good.
Well, great to hear from your podium finishers as well as Joe Butler, who finished P5 tonight here from the virtual Legacy Silverstone. And Lorenzo, as we kind of wrap up our coverage here tonight of round number 5, Nikita Lastishkin going now 2 in a row. I think the big question is, if we see Andre Castro, Josh Green, Anders Krone back on the racetrack, do you think they can beat Nikita, or do you think it's really going to be his now championship to lose, as Castro, Green, and Krone all missing out on tonight's race?
Well, it's going to be an interesting one. I like Interlagos because it has similarities to Silverstone in the pack racing of sorts. If you're the lead, it's kind of hard for you to break away, especially with the fixed setup. I do think Interlagos have a fixed setup with the Indy Pro 2000s, but it's going to be an interesting one because it's going to be high attrition from start to finish. Can't wait to see it.
Interlagos also always have this way of creating drama, whether it's in the real world or the virtual world, and you'll be able to catch it 1 week's time, February 15th, right here on RaceSpotTV, as we'll officially go halfway through the season. That is going to wrap up our coverage here from Virtual Legacy Silverstone of round number 5 for Real Racers Virtual Club. Congratulations to Nikita Lastishkin, who grabs the race win and goes 2 in a row on the season. For Arjuna Kankipani, for Lorenzo Bonder, my name is Joshua Lee. We thank you for tuning in to tonight's coverage on RaceSpotTV, and we hope to see you in 1 week's time when we return at Virtual Interlagos for more of the Real Racers Virtual Club Season 3.
Cause I